Hi guys, today I'm going to be talking about, again, we're still in the basics. We're going through just the four letters: introvert versus extrovert, sensory versus intuitive, thinking, feeler, judging, perceiving. Four different options of what you could be. Today we're going to discuss the second one. So you could either be someone who's sensory or intuitive. Okay? So this is the trickiest one out of all of them, and I'm going to try and break it down, and then I'm going to spell out some of the things that make it more complicated. But let's first get to the basics. Everybody has eyes, nose, ears, taste, touch, right? So our brain takes in so many different things. It takes in what we see, it takes in what we hear, it takes in what we smell, it takes in what we feel. It even takes in certain intuitions. Like intuitions are almost like these. I just intuitively know that if we move that chair, there will be enough space for the people. Not because I'm measuring with my eyes and I'm taking out my ruler. I just intuitively. That's also something that our brain is able to take in cognitively. So there's so many things going on in our brain, and this is really what makes people different is cognitive preferences. What your brain prefers to focus on in data in order to be able to live life the way it feels is most proficient. So sensory people consciously notice, and they place importance on information that they receive from their five senses. So a sensory person will be more likely to notice and remember details like what somebody was wearing. Sensory people are much more practical. To contrast, intuition is almost like a fake thing. It's almost like a feeling thing. It's different than feeling. I'll explain later. But you're not really living based on the facts in the real world where we are right now, based on our senses. I'm standing in this room. I see things. I hear things. So sensory people are much more practical and in the room, and they want to use information that's visible and things that you could hear and things that make sense on a very, very present, almost like physical level. Intuitive people, they take in that information, but it's less conscious. It's more unconscious because their brain prefers to focus on intuition. Intuition is hard to understand for people who are sensory based, because, like, what does it mean that you intuitively feel like it makes sense? Why don't we go measure that? Or what does it mean you intuitively feel like this is a good business deal? Let's look at the facts. Let's measure the data. Let's see what's going on. So you listen to a sensory and versus have a conversation with an intuitive person. I mean, also you see this regards to like sensory people are very into like traditions, what worked. So they take on certain ideas and facts that are just common things that people take on. Like I was driving with a friend of mine, and this poor person was by the door and like, what do you want money? And oh, the common thing is they use money for drugs, they use money for alcohol, or they're fakers, they're phonies, but an intuitive person would be able to kind of almost take a step back and see things more in like 3D. They're not seeing, again, the room as in the room itself, as in the details in the room. They're seeing it almost like a behind the scenes perspective on things, and they'll be like, I don't know, maybe he is, maybe he's not, and even if he is, I don't really know his situation. Like, I don't know, a poor guy who knows what he's going to take $1. And intuitive people, like this goes on to the second idea of how they see things. Like, they see rooms as in from the outside. Like, they see the whole perspective almost of the room, and they they make connections, and they have this ability to, they're taking in, let's say, 20-30% of their senses. They see the room there, but the room doesn't have the same visual acute clarity to the details and stuff of what's going on in the room. They're not going to notice details as much. They're going to have more of an intuitive sense of what's going on, and that intuition is kind of what guides them. Is kind of how they experience the world. They experience the world through intuition as opposed to through senses. Now, feelers, going on to the next thing, thinking versus feelers. Feelers also could have certain intuitions where they have this like feeling about something that it's not going to work out, even though there's no data. That is different though than intuition, and I'm going to explain in the next video when I talk about thinking versus feeling why feeling and intuition, which are both kind of non-concrete assessment tools, are different. But for today, this is for sensory versus intuition explained. Hope you enjoyed it.